Do you resonate with this? Having a girl like you and her get on amazing, you get on incredible, amazing things are happening, you got amazing connection, you're seeing each other, you're doing all this, and then after a bit of time the ego kicks in, so you're both making it harder for each other. Let's say she's making it harder in this circumstance, she's making it harder for you. She don't want to meet you, she's giving more distance, she's not doing what you actually want, she's not fulfilling what you want with her, and the ego gets in the way. And the message is going to be in this video, don't let ego ruin your relationship, because it's one of these things that happens, and of course you can't control another person's ego, you can't. And I see everyone nowadays, their relationships get ruined by ego. It gets ruined by ego. Of course it's all right to want certain things, but the ego, and nowadays especially with dating, is so egotistical, if that makes sense. It's almost like you got to draw someone in with coldness, with not replying, with taking ages to reply in order to get them. When in comparison, it should just be, oh yeah, I like you, let's go out. You know what I mean? But now you got to play a game, and then after you see them, you got to wait a little bit, and it's all this weird game that you play now. And the sad thing is, when I don't play the game, it doesn't work. When I do play the game, it works. That's the sad thing, you know what I mean? When in reality, you just want a good connection with a good girl and a good person. And I just want you lot to almost understand that your ego is something that can really ruin this, in a sense, ruin your relationship, ruin it, and ruin something that is good. And I had a thing with a girl recently. So I saw her a year ago. Around a year ago, we finished up. All right, so we didn't speak for ages. And I saw her in the gym randomly, and she was with her friend, just looking at me. Didn't speak to her. And then recently, about a week and a half ago, we went to a club, me and my mates, and she was in the club, and she was with her mate, and she just kept staring at me and pointing at me with her mate. And I was like, what's wrong with this girl? What's wrong with this girl? And then I went on a different dance floor, and I got with a different girl. And then we went up to a different dance floor, and then she just literally stood next to me. I wasn't with that girl at the time. She literally just stood next to me here and just started staring at me with her mate, just staring at me, almost with a mean and disdainful look. When before we had a really good relationship, and we had something that was really nice, and I made her feel feelings that I don't think she'll ever feel again, because I was on point that night for some reason. These nights when we were seeing each other, most part I was on point, and she realised that, and I know deep down she realised that. She realised that, shit, this is not right. And then she started trying to message one of my mates, who literally turned it down. So that was good. I got the wrong end of the stick before, where I thought that they went to see that girl, but they saw other girls, the girl I got with and her mate. That's who they went down to see, and I had the wrong end of the stick in that situation. I thought differently. But on a real level, this girl could have literally just put her ego aside and went up to me and said, how you been? How's everything? Had a nice interaction where there's no negative energy or no stupidity, if that makes sense. But in comparison, she went for an egotistical route, trying to draw me in. It was the weirdest shit. She was just stood there staring at me with her mate, and her mate was smiling and laughing. I was like, what the fuck's going on with you, man? You know what I mean? Her mate was just smiling. I don't know what's wrong with her and all, but they were just looking at me with almost a weird look. And they were stood there for ages, and I literally just went like this in my head. I went like this. And then that meant to move on, and then they moved on, and then she started messaging my mate. But the real thing is, if I cause that much of a reaction in that person from just being myself and just saying, oh no, you're not what I want, in a sense, and just shrugging it off, how much more would it take to just go up to someone and say, how are you been? Because if she came on with good energy, it could have been a different completely life, different interaction, different fucking life at that night. Does that make sense? But she came in with ego. And when you act with ego, it doesn't truly help you. And this is a true sign in a sense, because I guarantee this girl's going to message me soon. She's going to say, oh, how you been, or whatever. And it's one of these things that is crazy, because she could have literally came up and not acted in ego. And I've done it before where I've acted in ego and it didn't help. But you don't want to act too much in ego. And it's one of these things nowadays, it's like you're fucking drawing someone out to get something. And this is what it felt like. She was trying to draw out a reaction in me to see like I cared. But I just showed no care. And now that's hurting her, if that makes sense. When she could have just came up normally. Then obviously sometimes women don't make sense, do they? But on a real level, it's one of these things. People don't want to admit it. They don't want to admit nowadays that they like someone. They don't want to admit that, oh, actually, I may have fucked up before. I may have went into the wrong thing, and I'm sorry for that. Maybe I should have pursued you more. Maybe I shouldn't have went away. and maybe I should have gave you more time, more effort. If they came with that energy, it's a completely different circumstance. You know what I mean? In comparison to driving with the ego, and trying to just draw something out of someone without trying to draw them out, trying to get something, a reaction, or maybe some admiration out of someone, when you could have just asked. You could have just been polite and respectful. But that's what I mean, man. It's fucked in the modern day, this dating shit, innit? But on a real level, if you understand how bad ego and dating is, you'll start to understand it a bit more. And it's sad in the real sense, because we nowadays have to act different to get girls, especially when you're like me and they naturally find you attractive. If I go too much and if I try too much, they get repulsed. But on the other comparison, if I stay away and stay distant, they come. It's the weirdest stuff. If I don't give them too much, it's the weirdest stuff. It's the weirdest shit, man. But it's not like a real relationship then, is it? It's a game where we're fucking playing with each other, which is almost like I feel like I'm manipulating you into getting with me, and you're trying to manipulate me to get with you. You know what I mean? It's the weirdest game ever. But on a real level, just don't let your ego ruin this shit and ruin your relationships and stuff, especially if you're deep into something with someone. Don't let your ego get fucked. Let your ego get fucked. Let your ego go out the door sometimes, because sometimes you got to pursue other people's needs and you got to understand it. In that situation, I walked away because it wasn't right and she was going anyway. But then now it's like, oh, suddenly, oh, reaction. And it's one of these things that if she just acts without ego, she would have been able to maybe rekindle a little thing for that night. You know what I mean? But she acted with ego, and it's terrible in a sense, but on a real level, it is what it is. You learn lessons and you learn about other people. You know what I mean? And that's what you need on a real level, man. I just want you lot to get this message. Don't act with ego when you're in relationships, especially if you're deeper into a relationship. Don't always put your needs first over someone else. Sometimes you got to come in between and sort it out. You can't just have what I want and what you want, because it's not always going to align. It's not always going to align. Sometimes you got to talk it out, see each other, speak about it. You know what I mean? That's going to be the real message in this video. This video has been a little bit all over the place, but it's more so why modern dating's a little bit fucked nowadays anyway. And that's going to be the real message. Hope you like this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you.